A court has ruled that a whistleblower cop who has filed a civil rights lawsuit against the city of New York can proceed with his lawsuit. This is centered around a veteran of the NYPD by the name of Craig Matthews. He's actually been with the NYPD for 17 years, and he actually complained about the quota system within the police department to one of his supervisors. As a result, he faced some significant retaliation. In fact, according to reports, Matthew alleged that he had been suffering retaliation from his supervisors in 2008 after he told the NYPD bosses about a quota system implemented in his precinct. Now, mind you that the quota system is completely unlawful. It is against the law in New York. So he noticed that it was being implemented and he spoke out against it. And so he did get retaliated against, according to his allegations. In the original lawsuit, Matthews alleges that he was denied overtime, separated from his partner, sent to punitive assignments, and given unfairly negative evaluations after speaking out, claiming that the city violated his First Amendment rights in the process. Now, what's interesting about this story is it originally went to a federal judge, and the federal judge said, sorry, you can't actually file this lawsuit because you are a public servant who's speaking out against the police department. If you were a private citizen speaking out against the police department, then your lawsuit can continue to go on. But thankfully, he appealed this case, and through the Court of Appeals, he will be able to proceed. That's the update to the story. Now, I love this because the NYPD will say over and over again, no, we don't have a quota system. But of course they do. I mean, we have a whistleblower here who's speaking out against it, and this is obviously very important information for us to have.
To me, the interesting part of the story is that the Police Benevolent Association, the union in New York City, which we all saw is kind of run by a maniac, they are supporting this guy because they're also against quotas, because they understand that that is destructive to the relationship between the police and the community.
Absolutely.
Right, so that I think is really, I expected the police union to be the other way, like, yeah, shut this guy up, you know, and this is how we do things. No, they're the other way. They don't want quotas either. So this is when the union is doing a good thing at the police union.
Well, the union is supposed to protect the police officers first and foremost. That's the only thing they're concerned with. Are they concerned with the community? Sure, maybe. But it's more about the police. And when the police are forced to fill a certain quota, well, then there are unrealistic expectations, right? You have to make a certain number of arrests. You have to give out a certain number of citations. That's unfair to ask of the police officers to do, because then all of a sudden you're picking on people that aren't necessarily committing a crime. Right.
They wouldn't necessarily get arrested or get a fine or get any kind of interaction unless you had this quota to fill.
Yeah, and so you find probably that there were police officers who did trumped up charges, who would say, oh, I'm going to pull you over and I'm going to find something in your pocket that wasn't necessarily there. So it does undermine belief in justice, just in justice in general and in the police in general as well, not just in the community itself.
And not just in justice, but Justin Bieber.
I mean, my main takeaway from this was, isn't it refreshing to read a story where the whistleblower didn't end up in jail?
Yeah.
It is refreshing.
Right,
and it's
every
very
time
rare.
I see whistleblower, when you sent me the story earlier, I see whistleblower and immediately I'm thinking, oh, this guy's in jail, he's been sent to another country, he had to escape, he's in Peru. But wow, a whistleblower and something decent came of it. I'm actually quite amazed.
It is a good story, and what I find interesting is that it's against the law for a public servant to file a civil rights lawsuit against the police department. Why is that the case?
They say as a government employee, your First Amendment rights are somehow suspended.
That's ridiculous.
That doesn't make any sense.
I know. I don't understand exactly where that came out, but maybe it's because of privilege. Maybe there was a reason for it. You know, in the past, there was a reason, for national security or something. But it makes no sense otherwise.
There's a reason they got rid of habeas corpus. I mean, they did a lot of shit for the reasons, but there's no reason to. So the way this guy got it passed, or the reason the court said that. They agreed. He's a private citizen making this complaint, which to me sounds like a stretch.
It is a stretch, but I'm glad that they made that stretch.
Me too, yeah.
And hopefully it goes on, and it seems as though, there are probably a lot of appeals and a lot of higher courts that are going to chime in on this case, but it's an important case to say the least. Because, look, regardless of whether or not he's a public servant, the NYPD is breaking the law and their own policies when it comes to the quota system. So if they're breaking the law, it is what it is. They can't keep implementing this policy.
Well, and good for this guy, because when you think about this is probably going to destroy any chance of a career that he's going to have.
Yeah.
It's really hard to get hired again once you're a whistleblower.
Yeah.
And you're also going against the NYPD, the place where you live. I think he has a lot of courage. He probably has to pay for his own defense in this case as well. He might be getting some financial assistance, but it takes a lot of courage to speak up and do what he's doing. So more
It
power to
definitely
him.
does.